Hi, Kenzie.
Hey, Ralph. How's it going?
We're not all going to be here for this. Ren apparently, she said she could have joined if we needed it for a quorum, but it doesn't look like we're going to have a problem. But and Jason Wells can't make it, but I think we'll be okay.
I bet you're right.
I'm not hearing you.
Oh, weird. Um, Maybe I'll.
And it doesn't show that you're muted. Let me see if it's my speaker. Just a minute.
I've tested muting and unmuting. Did that change?
Oh, got it. It was my end, my problem.
Right. Sounds good.
Yeah, I had been talking with Becca Sickbird about possibly doing training or at least a video.
Yeah.
And because trying to do these as public classes has been kind of like herding cats. But if we can put up a really a video that's not just a video of one of the classes, but actually a video that she can focus on and do it right, that might wind up being the better solution anyway. And then everybody could just see it when they wanted to.
Yeah, I think that's a great call.
We'll see.
Hey, Neil.
Hi, Neil. He's there. We just don't see him.
Not yet.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, what is it? Let me see what my camera setting is. That's really weird. Oh, do I have it closed?
The duct tape over it or something?
Yeah, I have a slider that goes over. So that's what was happening. I was trying to figure it out. I'm cooking here, so that's why I'm in the kitchen.
Oh, okay. A different backdrop.
Yeah, that's right. You can kind of see me as well. I'm not backlit.
Did you go fishing today?
Yes, and I'll go again, tomorrow.
Any luck?
Yeah. No, I usually do pretty well, but I really focus on dry fly this time of year, which is a bit more of a challenge.
Oh.
And when it's good, and when it's not good, it's tough,
Yeah. Hang on, I need to close the door here.
Okay. Hey, Kinsey, how have you been?
I've been well.
How's work?
It's been good. We've got possibly a new client and new project coming up, so there's been a lot of time diverted on that, but all is well. It's been busy and good.
And do your clients tend to be, when you bring a client on board, is it usually quite a big contract, or is it just
often? Yeah. I'd say Manitou is the smallest one we've done, but it's fun.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Yeah. I was expecting 6 digits would likely be a more typical contract.
I think that's about right.
Yeah.
Hey, Marcus.
Mind you, I think we got close to 6 digits of value because of you.
I'm happy to hear it.
Oh, that's right. Especially those of us who can remember the old way of going through the grant analysis and trying to rank them all. And
no. The old way is when we had to go in and copy all the applications.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
you got a binder then, did you?
Mm-hmm.
Your first year? Okay. All right. That was painful. That
Yeah.
was so painful.
I'm excited. I think it's just going to keep getting better and better for us now with the project completion reports baked in. There's not going to be anyone who's tasked with having to go and match those up to make sure everyone's finished. And it seems like each year is going to get better and better. So.
Yeah. Yeah. So Eli, good.
Eli.
And this is probably it, isn't it?
Unless Nancy Wilson indicated that she would join if we were all Zoom, and we are, so but we don't have Becca yet.
Amanda's on. Amanda?
Yep, I'm here.
Yep. So Amanda will be taking minutes and stuff.
Right. I know. I'm just thinking that Becca definitely has a report because she submitted the budget numbers. And we'll get to that pretty quickly on the agenda, so I'll hang on here for another minute or two.
As far as I understood, Becca is supposed to be here, so she may just be running a minute or two behind.
Okay.
There she is.
There she is. Must be the traffic on Crystal Park Road. Hey, Becca.
Hey, sorry about the delay. It took me longer to come than I thought.
All good. All good. Well, it's 5:03 and we definitely have a quorum, so why don't we come to order? And Becca, you want to call the roll?
Sure. Neil Minch.
I am here. I'm
Ralph
cooking. That's
Oh,
why.
cooking.
Yeah.
Handy.
I'm
Ralph
here
Brown?
and I'm not cooking.
Kenzie Watts.
I'm here.
Marcus Medina.
Here.
Rin Almitra.
She is not going to be on.
Okay. Eli Blackshear.
Here.
Jason Wells.
Jason's in Denver and won't be joining us either.
And Nancy Wilson.
Nancy had indicated that she would join if we were Zooming, and we are, so we might get her on a little later, but we're obviously okay.
So if she joins in, we'll know in the minutes when she joined.
Sure. Okay. You received the agenda. No revisions from what you got. Would you any changes that anyone might have?
No, I motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, signify some way.
Aye.
Any opposed? Obviously not. Minutes. You got the minutes from the August 24th meeting. That covered a lot of bases, and it was very, very well done. Anybody have any revisions or changes to the minutes?
I'll move to approve them.
Motion made. Do we have a second?
We'll second that.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Good. Don't see anybody for making public comments. Does anybody on the board have anything to say in the way of?
Yeah, I do. I've attended a couple of events recently. I think I sent you guys an email on the puppet show. Yeah. It was so good. I mean, funny and historically accurate. She did a wonderful job, I thought. And then I went to a clay fest on Sunday and did a bit of a pottery stuff. And that was it. Those are the match events I've attended.
Great.
Has anyone else attended any?
Well, I mean, several of us have been at the Moonlight Market events, and so I know of that, and that's been pretty obvious that they've done well with those this summer. The weather has been more cooperative.
Yeah.
Than and they scaled back a little bit based in mainly, I guess, on our funding reduction for them. But I would
feedback. It was our feedback also.
Yeah. But they've been able, the more that they can be outside, the better. But those events have been good. Anything else in the way of public comment? If not, let's go to reports. And Becca, I know that you had sent us something in the packet, so I assume you want to.
Yeah, I thought you would like to see the budget. Okay. So for ending 2023, I decreased the sales tax revenues a bit. I also did that for the city at large because it's just not as good as it was last year. So hopefully I've captured the difference that will occur, but of course it's a bit of a reading the crystal ball, so we'll have to see how good I am at guessing. And then my practice is, unless it was a really unusual year before, I usually carry over the same revenues to the next year because I'm paranoid about saying, oh, we're going to do 5% better. I mean, most cities do that, and I would rather not have to adjust down at mid-year. If anything, I like to adjust up. Most of the time, I just have to keep it where it is. So for sales tax, that goes to the five entities, we've got an ending amount of $303,000 for 2023, and then for 2024 we have $303,000. And then the grants, that's that 34%. It's $156,000 for 156,100 for both 2023 final and 2024. And then the use tax, I have been overestimating on use tax. Like the last 2 years, and I've overestimated on use tax compared to what we actually got. So I brought that down and then carried it over into 2024, and we'll see how I did on that. And then the grants, they're always based on pretty much on the previous year's revenues. So they certainly can't be more than the previous year. Well, they can actually, because we still have some fund balances that have been dragging over. But in this case, I didn't do that. And I then included for the website and all the other little odds and ends that needs to be done for the grants. I made the budgeted amount for that $12,000. For 2023, it was 11,400, so I just smoothed it out a bit, just increased it a bit because of inflation. I didn't use any formulas or anything. I just it looks like maybe 12,000. So I'm very scientific.
So Becca, I think that basically we're going to have just a little bit less than we did this past year to allocate, but it's not going to be a massive amount. It might be $10,000 less or something. It isn't it's not like 50,000.
Yeah, yeah, for the 5, y'all had 323,400, and I got it at 297,240. I probably decreased it by like 5%. I did use a percentage on that. And the same thing for the grant awards. 155,200 was awarded in 2023, and I've got it at 153,120. So that is very marginal difference.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Cool. Thank you.
As far as the entire city is concerned, is this that category of the other businesses that is it largely coming in that category?
Yeah, the other businesses, that vendor type includes the retail marijuana.
Right.
I cannot talk specifically about retail marijuana because there's only 2 shops, and there's these state privacy laws because they,
Right.
and they had said if I reveal particular information, I could be put in jail. I mean, that's the worst case scenario, but even the lawyer says, yes, she could be sent to jail. So I'm like, I don't want to go to jail.
I want to do that.
Yeah. So the other in city has not performed as well as in the past, but it's following a trend. The state is showing like, I want to say a 16.9% decrease. And our other in city, which includes not only retail marijuana, but other things like auto repair, and home businesses. It's the odds and ends that don't fit neatly into other categories. That I think as of the July sales tax was down about 15%. So it's not as much as the state, but it is noticeable.
But the upshot being that it's not like it's a citywide recession or something like that. It's pretty focused in a lot
Well, a
of
couple of vendor types are not as good. I would say retail shops are hanging in there, but and restaurants are not bad.
right.
It's lodging that's really took a hit. As Neil had said recently, it's like we're getting a lot of day visitors.
Oh. Okay. Well, I guess we'll find out too whether the moving the marathon to September might help out a little bit for later in the year, but no way.
No, it was in September last year.
Well, no, I thought it just moved this year.
No, it was there last year.
Yeah, the last August they ran in, weren't they all having tons and tons of heat exhaustion?
Yeah.
It was not good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's good to have this idea and know that we're pretty stable. It'll be down a little, and I don't see it to the point where we have to rethink some of our other expenses, though. I mean, where we've committed for other things, including the website, but also perhaps the training that I'll bring up a little later. So, okay. Well, I really appreciate getting this. This is great information. And I did have one last question about this, Becca. Does the 5 entities, will they see this, or do we need to let them know that their money might be a little bit less, or?
Sorry, that was a cat.
No.
If they look at the budget, they can see it. It probably wouldn't hurt to let them know that it's a little less. I can tell you that the library, since it's going to be building, I think we're still really hoping for 100,000 for that, if at all possible, because they're going to start working on building it, I think later this year and work, you know, the remodel and
Right.
work on next year and hopefully have it finished up at the beginning of 2025. I'm not quite sure what the timeline is, but but then after that, it's not going to need much money anymore.
Right.
It'll be done, you know, and that's what the whole money about this money is about is, and okay, this is the important thing. It looks like they're not going to have to get a loan. We've gotten enough grants and things, fingers crossed, it's no guarantee, but if there's no loan required, then that really frees up the money, because there had been this thought that the match board would be having to help provide some of that loan payment every year for the next few years that you're in existence.
I'm sure that the Hiawatha Gardens folks will be ready to step right in when, and it actually
Fill in that gap.
might be good timing for them.
Hey Ralph, I think in November, when we send a communication to the 5 tier 1s for their applications, as it were, that'd be a good time to just give them a bit of direction on the overall funding being down between 0 and 5% versus last year. I think I don't think we have to do anything now, but I'd say when we send that message out asking for their inputs for the 2024 grants, we can just give them some guidance around the expectations is between a 0 and 5% decline in overall funding.
And I guess if we wait another month, we'll have another month of data as well.
Well, we're actually waiting 2 months.
You're muted, Becca.
I clicked it, I swear. Since the state collects our sales tax for us, it runs 2 months behind. So in September, we got the July sales tax.
Right.
So we got 1 more month of summer heavy duty sales tax, and then it'll drop fairly precipitously starting in September through the last few months. It can pick up towards the end for Christmas shopping.
Right. Okay. All right. All good. Well, thanks for that. Much appreciated. Let's move then to business, and let's start with Kinsey, and let's talk about the website. Have at it.
All right. Well, it's been another busy month. In that time, I am pleased to let you all know that I've created an admin view only mode that we're going to share. It's not quite ready yet, but the work has been done. I'm going to share with Rebecca and Amanda and a handful of other folks with the city. That's going to allow them to basically log in and see the list of applications the same and view any of the applications the way that we as board members do, but they won't have the ability to score or comment on those applications. So it'll be just looking at everything. So that's big news. I imagine that might also become really helpful when it's time to present to city council. I know they're still going to want to have some sort of consolidated, overview, but if they have any of those deeper probing questions, they're welcome to now have that access and go in and see the applications as thoroughly as they desire. In other news, I've added three new fields to the application itself. We have basically the elevator pitch, which is going to apply to both mini grants and the regular grants, and basically asks the applicants to describe their project in 1 paragraph or less. I imagine this is going to become key for the export for city council as well, so we don't have to go through and try to find the pertinent pieces of each application, since some of them were quite wordy. So we've got elevator pitch added now. We have a yes or no switch to ask if this has been a project that's been funded by MACH before. So this is going to help us for sure with our reporting moving forward. And keeping track of the follow through for not just individual users, but specific projects, whether we've funded them before or not. And the third piece that's been added, I have an open question about for you all. It is a new project category drop down. So next to where they have the option to choose the sort of genre or description of the project, whether it's, you know, paintings or murals or cooking or engineering, there's this whole list that came out of the plan Manitou for the different kind of types of projects we would get. We now have also added at Neil's request a project category drop down. And the 3 options that I wrote down, I want to make sure that we confirm that these are the ones we want and maybe brainstorm to see if there's any better ones, because they don't totally make sense to me. I have events, classes, and performances. And it's only confusing to me because technically classes and performances are both events themselves. So I didn't know if there was any sort of tweak of the wording or if there was any adjustments to that or any additional ones that would want to be added to this. I think so far this has just been something Neil has added manually after the fact to his big spreadsheet for the sake of reporting. So putting that out now.
I don't think you have the entire list there. This is something Becca and I had worked on. I'm just putting it up. The categories were event, festival, concert / performance, class / workshop, I think, and marketplace, which would be like Moonlight Market. That was how we did the reporting. Oh, festival is the other one. Did I say festival? Yes, I did.
You did. What about things like a mural, or do we need to give them
that's exhibition installation?
Oh, you didn't say that one.
Didn't I? Oh. Sorry. Exhibition / installation. That was how when I last year had talked about how we try and categorize these for simpler, communication. And that's what we ended up with.
What about things like the Rocky building? Would that also fall under exhibition installation? I'm just trying to think of any ones that maybe we wouldn't have covered so far that we've seen already, or if there's a need.
Well, I think you should always add other, because last year we didn't have the Rocky one, so I think that's a good idea.
Okay, so let me read these back just one more time and make sure everyone is happy with the list that I have. I've got event, festival, concert / performance, clash / workshop, marketplace, exhibition / installation, and other.
I'm just going to share this. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Might have to expand it. Oh, shoot. I just wrote it. So these were definitions. I can send this to you.
That might be helpful to add to our FAQs or guidelines page.
Alrighty. So I'll send this to Kinsey, okay?
Wonderful. I will update that. So all of those new new portions of the application have been added, and hopefully they're functional when I run it on my computer locally, and we've just are pushing them out to prod and hit a little bit of a snag. Otherwise, I was hoping I'd have it ready to say it's all done by today, but hopefully that'll be either tomorrow or the next couple work days after that. And my last thing that I wanted to ask you all was just to mention that we do have a staging website, which is basically our testing area where we've got our testing team who goes and makes sure that any new functionality, new additions work the way it's supposed to. And I wanted to offer that to you all as well, so that if you felt like going in and creating an application to see those new fields in place or see what the new project completion report looks like, as a user would see it, I can share that link in an email, and then you can all just do whatever you like, and it wouldn't necessarily be filling up our actual real website with dummy data. So I just wanted to throw that out there, see if that's something that interests you all. We're certainly doing plenty of testing on our side, so you don't have to feel like you have to, but if you are curious and want to see and poke around, I can share that link with everyone.
I would appreciate it.
Okay.
I'll take it too.
Cool. Well, I will probably just have Becca forward it to all of you then. And the only other thing I'm curious about, Eli, were you able to get on and see everything? That was the other thing on my list last time, is to make sure you got access to Google. And
Yeah, I was able to get in there and it all worked fine.
Sweet. Glad to hear it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Cool, for sure. That's the end of everything I had to talk about. Coming up next, we are still working on switching over where we're storing uploaded photos and attachments to the applications. And in that upgrade, hopefully, we're also going to get on the photos tab, rather than having to click and download and just see file names, we're going to have a nice like image and thumbnails, and we'll be able to just click through and see the images right there in place without having to save pictures to our computers and look at them outside of the website. So I'm excited about that. My hope is that we'll get this done in the next week or two, so that we can still have that earlier potential October opening to folks. Although technically, even if we had some people, I mean, the website's up in there right now. If someone was just really eager and jumped in and made an application, it wouldn't be lost. We would see it, we would have their photos, and we'll be able to port them over to the new storage as that shift takes place. So technically we're about ready to go whenever. And it's just going to keep getting better in the next couple weeks.
Great.
Now I really am done.
Okay.
So this is a question maybe for Amanda or Kinsey. Has there been any communication sent to this year's awardees to remind them of the project completion report and the link that they can submit it at?
We have sent a communication to Alex, who's updated the city website to now redirect where the old project completion report form was, now takes us users to the MACH website. But Ralph and I had talked about needing to send an email to that, a group email to the list of people who've been funded. And
Amanda, am I
Yeah.
right in thinking that you have a distribution list?
Yes, I sure do. And I think that I have sent out the completion link previously, but it's been like March. It's been a very long time. So
That I think was the old one. So
okay.
it might be good if someone wants to draft an email, and then, well, actually, Amanda, I think you could do it.
Yeah.
And just send it to this year's awardees, saying, "Hey, you know, it's been a great year. Hope your projects went well. Remember, you got to submit your project completion reports, because if you don't, you can't reapply next year."
Okay, that sounds great. Did you want me to forward it to anybody for verbiage to get just confirmation that what I've written is okay before I send it?
Feel free to send it to me, and I'll look it over and bounce it right back to you.
Perfect. I'll do that, Ralph. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Amanda.
Sure.
Kinsey, do you happen to know that any that are on the Google Drive? I haven't actually looked.
I looked last week and there had not been any new ones sent.
Oh,
This was
God.
before talking to Alex. So
Yeah.
now it's shifted. I don't think any could have snuck in. So the Google Drive is now closed up.
Wow.
And
I
I also checked our website and there are none finished on the website either.
I'm a bit worried about that. So we probably need to do a reminder, like, you know, this week, and then a reminder in, say, a month's time. Because I would have expected at least a handful to have come in.
Quick question.
Sure.
The Manitou Springs Elementary secretary from there called and left a message on my phone saying she was trying to do the project completion report, but it looked like she needed a password to get on the portal. And I know nothing about it. So what I did was I just forwarded it to Amanda because I assume Amanda knows more about it.
Interesting. Yeah, that's all based on the username or email that whoever made the original application logs in with. And since this is a new person and it was passed down, I might have to do some either if she can get the other person's email and password directly from whoever set it up originally, that would be one way, or I might have to go and manually modify the document in our database to set up with a new username. So I'll have to email her and have her set up her own account and then copy and paste that into the old application. If that's
And see, my understanding is that she took over from a previous secretary, so I don't think that she has access to that information, unfortunately.
okay. Well, then I will jump in an email and see what I can do to just manually override that since it's tied to the old user.
Thank you.
And Amanda, I don't know if it was mentioned, but the link to that website is the same as if it's, you know, going to create a new application as if you're going to do the project completion report. And that's the bit.ly/match grants. So I don't know if you have.
Perfect. Thank you.
Good. Anything else before we move on? Okay. The next one, finalizing the calendar for, if we can, for the 2024 grant application process.
Okay.
And
let me share my screen. I'm going to expand the window so you can actually read this. So I think, obviously, I've left out the in-person training because that's a later topic. I was going to ask the folks, when should the application window open? I just did an arbitrary, well, it wasn't entirely, but Monday, October the 30th.
I would imagine Kinsey would say that she could have it ready to start sooner, but
you have to have a communication
I know
that goes out ahead of time.
I know, and I have pretty much reserved a spot to write something for the bulletin to get the word out to that audience once we have finalized this.
Yeah. So I would say the bulletin article should be the kickoff. So it should be the Monday following the bulletin article. Well, actually, the Monday before.
Well, I don't. I'd like to hear what Kinsey thinks on this, but I think 2 weeks earlier. Okay, you just put in the 16th.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was, thinking about.
That I think is fine from my point of view. What about you, Kinsey?
I feel comfortable barring any sort of weird, I mean, even if something weird goes on with the photo storage piece that we're working on currently, everything else is in there and ready to go. And so there would be nothing lost there. It would just mean a little bit of extra work for me to move it over, move the photos over if that piece isn't wrapped up in time. And I don't see any reason why that would be the case. So I feel safe with that number.
Would you feel even safer with a week later, the 23rd? Because again, these are arbitrary dates. So
I honestly really don't think I was going to say I don't think it matters. I think one will be able to get it done and out in the next 2 weeks. And two, even if there's something that goes horribly awry in how that happens, it won't keep anyone from filling out an application. So I think it would be still good to go.
okay.
Then, Kinsey, of course, will actually record this. Last year, we had the application close on a Friday, and it was a nightmare because we had some issues and we needed other people to kind of fix them. And originally I had it on Thursday, but I pulled it into Wednesday, the 3rd. So we had 2 days to do a cleanup before the weekend, because it's really the weekend is when I, for example, began really looking at the applications. So Wednesday, January 3rd at 5:00 p.m. is the deadline. And made the tier 1 presentations the same date.
You mean they're live presentations?
No, the email stuff. What they send by email.
Okay. Gotcha.
Then Thursday, January 11th would be the tier 1 presentations. And that would also be where we would raise any concerns with eligibility. I didn't do a great job of this last year, but this would be a public forum, as it were, where we can say, hang on, is this project eligible? And we can discuss it as a board. January 18th, I have a question mark on this because I'm not sure. I didn't get a whole lot out of the tier 2 top dollar Q&A last year. It didn't help me. But that's just me. But the other thing that we'd want is any conflict of interest statements. And of course, arising out of that would be which alternates pick up those project, sort of ratings where there's a conflict of interest. So what do you guys think about having a tier 2 Q&A? Was it helpful last year?
I'm with you, Neil, in that I don't feel like I really got anything out of it necessarily.
I think for this, I would rather hear from newer members. Well, Eli hasn't been through one before. Marcus only one, but we don't have Ren. But I would really like to hear any input, any thoughts you might have. Marcus?
I don't know that it was extremely helpful. I think the one that was maybe a little bit helpful was the Lulu's guy, but I mean, it seemed like they all said they take some money if they couldn't get all of it. So, I mean, we kind of, yeah. So, I mean, maybe how it says there, invitation only, if we see one that seems like it could be, that we really got some questions, then yeah, we can invite them. If
I
there's
like
one
that.
that
Something more complicated that we really would need something more in depth with, then it would be helpful. But if it just kind of muddies up a more streamlined process, I'm sure it's.
So do you see what I'm typing here? You know, at the January 11th meeting, we would identify who we would like to have come because there's some burning questions.
Right.
It might be that there aren't any. We probably need to make sure that we send out the communication on the application window, that people are aware they may be invited on January 18th to answer questions.
Okay.
Do we have a copy of the one we sent out last year? Because we did the same. It might make it easier rather than duplicating the effort. We could just go in and change some dates.
I'm not sure I did that good a job, but I'll have to. I can dig up. I'll dig up the emails that was sent. Actually, I think Amanda may have sent them last year because I think I was using Amanda for those kinds of things. But I probably have a copy. So basically, we would on the 11th say there's this subset of applications that we have some significant questions about, and they need to be there on the 18th. And those questions could be eligibility. Those questions could be, do you have the support of whoever it is that you're doing it for? It could be a budget thing, but it wouldn't be an artificial thing about just the amount of dollars. It would be a more substantive issue. Is that what was saying?
Yeah, I think that would cut out the presentations that really did not help us at all.
Okay.
If we've got specific questions, then that's great. We can bring them in. No matter what.
Then
go ahead.
We then have 3 weeks to get our ratings in. So I said Tuesday would be when the ratings are due. So there's time for a little bit of analysis before we meet as a team on Thursday, February 8th. And that would be to begin rating calibration. And I think we last year also did some preliminary allocation discussions at the same time because we looked at everyone's budget.
I think we did the mini grants, didn't we?
Thank you. Thank you, Ralph. Completely forgot about that. We actually started with them to get them out of the way. And then we began the regular sort of grants. And so I've got 2 consecutive weeks here because that's how much time it took to go through all the applications. Becca, I'm assuming by February 22nd, we'd have the final numbers.
By
So
February 22nd, we will have the final numbers for 2023.
and so because all this is tied to the city council works session, the regular meeting on March 12th, 19th. The reason we have the sort of scheduled this way is to be ready to provide the council packet on March 7th in support of the Tuesday, March 12th council works session. So February 29th is when we would finalize who gets what. So February is a fairly busy month, as it was this year, and January is not, is not too bad. But February is a busy month. How does it this look, guys?
Looks like it's gonna work. It looks similar to this year, and that worked. So I like it.
Yeah, I like the way it's looking.
Ralph?
My only thought is that the conflict of interest statements, we might move them up a week to January 11th and go ahead and get that out of the way.
I think that's a great point. Yeah, I agree with you. So let me just take this out here. So both of the this, I would expect that. Well, I don't know. Just save it. So Ralph, I'm going to send this to you.
Yes.
Because I think we have to set the expectation that I left out checks issued. I'm going to say equals that plus 7. We want it to be the following Friday, don't we, Becca?
Which is the end of the month.
Yeah.
Business wise.
See, the problem is, we really can't print the checks until we get the W-9s.
Yeah, I've just added that, assuming W-9's submitted.
You read my mind?
Yeah, no, and so we'll have to send an email on literally March 19th that will notify people that they have or have not been awarded how much, and these are the steps you have to take to get your check, which includes getting a W-9.
Right, and they can't like turn in the W-9 and expect the check the same day. They turn in the W-9 and then a week later they get the check.
Yes. Yeah.
That's important.
Okay. So I'm going to send this to you, Ralph. Amanda, maybe I should send it to you because I think we should capture this in the minutes.
Okay.
I'll send it to you after we've talked about what the training plan is, because then we have everything in one place. Okay.
Hey.
Sounds good.
Appreciate you taking the lead on that, Neil. That
No problem.
puts us in a good spot. Let's move on to training sessions, where I put in hire Becca Sickbird or not, any other options. I have dealt with Becca and had conversation and messaging back and forth, and she is, she knows that the amount that has been set aside for this is $1,000 and it will not be going any higher than that. The difference is that now she's no longer affiliated with the Creative Alliance, which is how this was funded before. We basically retained the Creative Alliance and Becca as executive director handled it. There is still no executive director to replace her of the Creative Alliance, but actually this solves the problem of potential conflict of interest concerns or whatever, because of the fact that Becca no longer has any direct involvement with any grant seeking entity. So she could help us out and we could pay her and it would not have any, there would, the look would be better. I'm not saying the look was bad with Creative Alliance, but I always wondered if we would get a question or two about that, since the Creative Alliance also has Art on the Avenue, which is about the biggest single grant outside of, or has been biggest single grant outside of the 5 entities that obviously get the bigger percentages. So anyway, Becca's proposal I'm going to speak on her behalf on this, but I think it was there was some frustration at trying to herd cats and have in live sessions the last 2 years, and it became more and more evident that people wanted to see they like the idea of seeing the video on their own time instead of a scheduled time of meeting either in person or online. Her initial proposal for us is that she would spend basically about 10 hours of time putting together. She's already got a script that she would just revise from last year with our changes and updates, but she would spend a lot more time and effort, instead of just having a video that really was a video of her live presentation in a class, but this would be more of a polished, prepared presentation that would be oriented. We're back and forth as to whether to have 2 videos, one for mini grants and one for larger grants, or maybe just one video, but making it clear to people, if you are looking for mini grants, here's where to go on the video to find what you're looking for. It would wind up just being whatever's easier for her. But anyway, she is, from the sounds of things right now, would be more than willing to do 1 or 2 professionally done and appearing videos that would be available to us as soon as possible after the start of the website being live. So it'd be sometime in the back half of October, and that she would also give us assistance in getting the word out and marketing as needed to message to the community and grant applicants of what's available to them. I really like that approach, in that personally, in that I think it does allow people, and she got good numbers apparently of people going to look at videos and going back to them and checking them again. So maybe putting extra effort and work into polishing up those products for people, and in lieu of having in-person training. and then they could watch it at 3 a.m. on a Sunday morning if they wanted to. That is pretty much the extent of where we are with Becca Sickbert, and we don't have anyone else who we've identified in the past or have in, you know, as a backup plan in case that didn't work and if we still wanted some kind of training. But I'm curious to know your thoughts on the possibility of Becca Sickbert doing something that would be almost, well, pretty much all video oriented.
I love that idea. I think the quality goes way up when it's a script that's written just to be a lecture video versus recording an in-person class. I think that it'll look real sharp on our help section of the website and would be useful year after year, potentially, assuming we don't make that many UI changes to the application between this year and next year. I think it's a great idea. And I love the idea of combining, I think having a separate video for mini grant and for regular grants might just confuse users to wonder like what video even do I need to watch if they haven't already grasped the difference between the two. And I think giving a timestamp makes a ton of sense to be able to jump between them. That's just my personal take on that.
She's willing to do either way.
Did anyone attend any of the in-person sessions?
I did the first year, not last year.
Yeah. I actually do think there's a value to having at least one in person, particularly for first timers. It's just a chance to come in and ask some basic, questions. That's what I observed was the questions. But I wouldn't have more than that, maybe a Saturday. But having a better produced online kind of training thing, and I personally like the idea of separating mini grant from a regular grant because it's different people. And to Kinsey's point, we probably, I'm hoping that we're done with our changes now. So this should be able to sustain at least for a couple of years.
Thinking about people who might have questions for us, I know we had kind of briefly talked about them being able to come to us as a board, like any given board meeting at the open comments at the beginning of the agenda. Is that, do you feel like if we did do video only, would that give people the spot that they need to ask questions, or does that feel too formal? Do you think people are intimidated by that process in a way that they wouldn't be with an in-person class?
When I've done a online thing, I always wonder who's going to be answering it. Is it some kind of artificial intelligence thing, or is it a real person? When you do the in-person training thing, I can put it. If I was a first-time applicant and I was seriously wanting to get a grant, I would go to the in-person training because it gets me a connection and I can get some questions answered with the right, kind of context. That's why I'm really thinking of this for first-time applicants.
I just my only I don't argue with you on that point, but she did noticed that there was less interest in the in-person trainings last year. The first year there was a level of interest. I want to say that she never had more than 15 for a single session, but she had like 3 sessions the first year. And it really wasn't video oriented. It was all about, or almost all about, the in-person. And there just wound up being issues with scheduling and people messaging her and not, you know, not being able to attend. It just seemed like last year that there was more interest in the video. That's what has kind of brought us to this point. I mean, I can follow up with her, but the problem is also timing here, because she would need to be getting to work on this in the next probably 2 weeks to well, or even in the next week, or as soon as we could get her final information about changes. But we might not be able to wait until the next meeting of the match board, and I don't know whether it's worth having a meeting, a special meeting, just to deal with that one subject. One possibility could be that we could, or I'm just throwing this out, but empower me and perhaps one other person to meet with her and finalize a deal for her to provide services. Right now, she's saying that at the rate that she is charging, that it would basically, we'd be spending $1,000 just for getting probably a video product. If she only did one, maybe that could open the way for one in-person session. But you see where I'm coming from here on timing. If anybody's got any other thoughts on this, I'm happy to be an intermediary and work out arrangements if we wanted to agree to engage her to provide training, and then we carve out the best arrangement that we can.
Do you guys mind if I make a suggestion, or is it overstepping?
It's not overstepping.
Okay. What if you did the video and then hosted like an open house kind of forum where you had 1 or 2 members of the match board there, and you presented the video to the new applicants in that forum, kind of in a streaming process, and then you had a question and answer session at the end. That way you're still interfacing with people who are unsure of the process, but you're still sticking to the same process with the video that everybody else is experiencing.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I do as well.
That's
Job, Amanda.
Hey, Amanda, want to join the match board?
I wish I lived in Manitou.
That is a great idea. And, you know, as much ownership as I know that Becca has felt in this the last 2 years, Becca Sickbert, I'm saying, that she would probably be happy to attend that kind of a follow-up open house type event. I think that's a great idea. I think we're to the point where if we could just get a motion to this effect, we could go ahead and approve the idea of spending the money to get the services, acquire the services of Becca Sickbert to to do the video and to help us with the marketing, and we could, we can follow up planning that event.
I'm not sure we need much help with the marketing, to be honest, but our motion that we ask Becca to produce 2 online, Becca Sigbert, for 2 online trainings, 1 for mini grants, 1 for regulars, and that we have after that what was it Amanda called it, a
forum or an open house.
An open house thing, but I would like Becca Sigbert to be at that. Plus, probably whoever from the board. We need to have at least 2 of us there. That could be in November, but the online should be available in October, not to exceed $1,000.
I can volunteer myself to be at least one of us who's there. It makes sense. If there's any technical questions, I'll be well suited to answer them.
Yes.
Right. We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I second that.
Marcus seconds it.
I think that was Eli, wasn't it?
Or was it Eli? I'm sorry. I thought I was seeing
No problem.
smooth there.
Eli's voice is just a little bit deeper.
Eli seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify or say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? It passes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to nothing. Great.
I
Great.
will.
Amanda, thank you for the idea, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks.
That was not overstepping in the slightest. It helps a lot. Okay. The next item on here is about a city council presentation on November 14th. We got an email, meaning Becca Davis and I got an email from Denise Howell saying that the mayor and mayor pro tem have asked that MACH make a presentation at the November 14th meeting of council, which that isn't it, Becca, the time when the other committees
Right.
make their budget?
Yeah, every year all the boards and commissions make presentations to city council, and the MACH board, since they started doing this, has not participated because they are going to be presenting in March. And what Neil did last time was just everybody's following the same template, took that template and incorporated it into his presentation of the MACH board's recommendations. But apparently the mayor and mayor pro tem do not want that template. They're interested in
I've got the email in front of me here. I'll read it.
I'll let you take over.
Yeah, what they would like to receive from MACH, again, this is loosely worded. It's just an email from Denise Howell, the city administrator, is what policies and procedures have you been working on when they will come to council for review and approval? And she made reference, although this was not coming from the mayor pro tem, a couple of policy items discussed in the last MACH presentation. She says conflict of interest, what happens when MACH purchases, what happens when MACH helps purchase durable goods such as drums or a sound system if the group no longer needs them, and any other policies or procedures that we want to review in 2024. I will, I had a conversation today with Neil about this a little bit, and we agree that, because one of the things that came up was the question about event management, and whether, the misconception that some of who owns the event, whether it's a match event when we're funding but not sponsoring, obviously, these events, of getting clarity on that. And that's where, from our past meeting, that Jason Wells and I believe it was Ren met with Megan Weiss from the city and got clarity, and actually a resolution from the proposed resolution that Jason prepared that we approved. I mean, we've got that we can take to them for sure. And I don't know whether there's anything else. I'm not sure we have had any specific discussion about what happens to durable items such as drums or sound system if the group no longer needs them. Any thoughts on that, Neil?
Well, I think our feeling on things like that is typically those have been like within the context of mini grants. I don't think we've had any general grants that have been for like stuff that exceeds $750. So I think that there is an opportunity to maybe add a bit of structure that is for equipment. It's a mini grant only. And the ones I'm thinking that we approved, there was a tool, something for tools. There was speakers that we've done for the front porch singers. There's been a couple of little things like that. And I think, we're just trying to enable some, a community capability without going nuts. And $750 is not going nuts. And so I'd say perhaps we kind of adopt this, that for equipment versus organization and all the things you do with putting on an event or program, it would be a mini grant only application. And I'm just doing that off the top of my head, but Kinsey, you've been on board a while. Can you recall any other larger grants that we've done for equipment?
I was wondering about the bench last year, if that counts, because it's a thing and it becomes on the street, which is kind of public property, but not officially.
I believe, wasn't that one of the donations, public donations, art donations to the city?
No, that was actually the guys at the Green Horse.
Yeah.
Did the application.
Yeah, I know that, but I
donate it to the city.
Yes.
They were buying it from Concrete Couch to donate it to the city.
I see.
That was done.
Yeah.
Can't think of any others really.
Yes. So maybe we don't have to put this into our rules, because I think we need all of us present, but we could at least have that as being a guideline that we're trying to keep those kinds of things to within the confines of mini grants, which is what we've done.
I think that makes sense. I also feel like there could be an argument made in the way that we aren't necessarily going after. I mean, we expect project completion reports, but that's just to a certain amount of time. We're not like reaching out later to check in and see how things have been used necessarily beyond a point. And so I feel like if the drums were used for a year, it's kind of out of our hands and maybe doesn't even matter. It would have served the purpose for that term, and it seems like something we shouldn't have to care about necessarily, especially if we're keeping within that mini grant range.
Yeah, and I think this is a small community. If someone had run off, I think someone would have made some noise. I mean, Eli, you're pretty well plugged in. I mean, what do you think?
I think, yeah, I like what Kinsey was saying as far as the lines of if people are still using them, maybe adding that into our project reports or our progress reports on the projects. I wouldn't know exactly again what all we've been putting out from the grants for specific applicants, but maybe there's a possible way of creating some sort of library of resources that are utilized and then not needed again, to use for future use, or something like that.
I guess I was actually wanting your input on the sort of a mini grant as being the vehicle whereby someone might request monies from MACH for equipment. That would put a cap of $750.
I don't see people asking for much more than that. You know what I mean? That seems like a pretty reasonable.
I think so. Well,
yeah,
I think so as well.
Okay, I think I've got a way to pull ourselves through this. I will, for our next meeting, our October meeting, have an outline of what the presentation to council would be, based on this conversation and others probably to come, and we can all sign on to it at the next meeting, and then we can go to council as being, a written report that can be in that packet, and then we could be there to not have to reread the whole thing, but cover the biggest points. And I think they do have concerns about that issue that involved the resolution from Jason and Wren came up with. That could be part of the deal too. But Neil had an idea of having Megan Weiss from the city. Actually, we could ask her to join in the presentation and be able to answer questions, because she basically, I think, took care of any concerns from the city side of potential problems that might arise. That I think that's what they're looking for, is that just knowing that that's addressed, and probably just the other issue about durable goods that our funds would be purchasing. I think if we deal with those issues, we've pretty much taken care of it.
Yeah, Ralph, I was going to add the other thing you and I talked about, because we know that this came up in March. That given the role I have, I think at a minimum, my plan, because my term expires next year, would be to renew as a regular member won't be chair or vice chair or secretary. But if council thinks otherwise, I could at least continue as an alternate. I think Councillor Wolf is probably on her own. There may be one other who thinks there's an issue there, but I think we need to be prepared to kind of speak to that. But I would like to continue as just a regular member when I renew next year. And you have to do board elections, I think, in December. So I'm just making it clear that I won't be officer elections, that I won't be putting my name in the hat for an officer position, which I think will address the perception concern, which I think is a valid one that Councillor Wolf had.
I was wondering if there'd be any value in having a high level outline of the items that that Nancy and Ren were working through with y'all. I mean, I know it's a fairly comprehensive document, maybe just a sentence of from each one, just to demonstrate how thoroughly you are all reviewing everything. So put the top things that they're concerned about, the equipment and then the issue with events, who owns them, and then just a listing of all the other items that have been discussed, just to show that you guys have really covered a ton of material. Or do you think they're not even interested in that? I just thought it'd be nice to acknowledge all the work you've been.
I don't think it would hurt to put it in that outline that we would prepare and offer to be in the packet.
Yeah.
I would have a different view, Ralph, given my experience with these things. Would have it available. I'd be careful about going down a rat's hole, because then you just don't know. If we're early in the agenda and people have energy, they may then want to begin questioning
everything,
individual points.
Okay, so maybe just say and then general procedures or whatever, something just kind of vague.
I'll look through that list and see if
it
rises to the level that would make it a better presentation overall. I'll just.
I mean, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think
y'all covered a lot of work.
I think that'd be a good thing, Ralph, just to show that we've been doing something. Please don't take my comment too negatively.
No, we're good.
No, I mean, you don't want city council getting into your procedures or anything like that, but just a couple of words statement of, I don't know, I'd have to look at the document that Ren and Nancy were working on. I can't remember right now. It's just, if you only list the two things, they'll think they might think you haven't really been working on stuff, and you guys have been working very hard.
And I can summarize what we went through in multiple meetings during the summer months too. So let's just say that I'll have something ready for us all for the next board meeting, which will be October the whatever it is.
Right.
The fourth Thursday in October, and we'll take it from there. Okay. All right. Sounds good. The last thing I put on here was that I remember that in the past we had skipped having a meeting in November. I realize that's 2 months out, but trying to be ahead of the game in terms of calendar things, and possibly having a meeting in early December instead.
Ralph, the reason I'm showing this is I just edited from the earlier conversation that we had.
Yeah.
So I've got Monday, October 16th. Maybe it's the 23rd, but it seems it needs to be tied to the application window if possible. The online trainings available. And then I had November 16th, the town hall. I think that the 23rd, isn't that Thanksgiving?
Yes.
All this could be the 30th.
I would like to ask for, and maybe Becca and I can follow up on this, Becca Davis and I can follow up on this and make sure that there are not conflicts with other city events or meetings. To because I don't want to schedule, just say a date for something like this and then have it turn out. I think we have to figure out when there's a spare date.
Yes.
A lot of things happening in November.
But I think it's the 16th or 30th, or would you do it on a Saturday, I guess? So I think it's actually second half of November TBD.
Right. Well, it would be best to double check with Alex. If you want tomorrow, I can send him an email saying, now the town hall session, that would that be by like by Zoom? Or would you actually like want to meet in a Memorial Hall and present the video and do it that way?
The idea would be to try to meet in person if possible.
Okay.
I think so. I think so. Yeah.
Okay, so I will send an email to Alex tomorrow and copy you, Ralph, so you'll know I've done it, because I can be squirreled away and not get it done. So send an email to Alex saying that the Match Board would like to do this presentation in City Memorial Hall, a training session on November 16th. And are there any conflicts?
Yeah, but if you think about the people who are, is a Thursday evening or is a Saturday a better day?
Saturday's probably a better day.
Yeah.
Okay. So
we could just leave it open.
Right. Okay.
I do think if we want to be able to have the video trainings available the same day as the application window opens, which makes sense, maybe we should push it to the 23rd, just so that if everything's ready to go on the website on the 16th, then Becca Sickbert still has a week to work with it all, so that it's not some sort of crunched turnaround or trying to get her stuff.
Right. Absolutely right.
Yep.
Thank you. So I'm going to send this to Amanda and Ralph, so this can be incorporated into the minutes. And obviously there's a question mark over the town hall. But the reason I say that, it doesn't really answer the question that you had, Ralph. Do we need to meet in November? The answer is probably no. And we just do something in December.
In December, but not necessarily the fourth Thursday, since
no,
then we're up against
Christmas. Second Thursday.
And that, as I recall, we did that last year.
Yeah, I think we did. So I'm personally away for October and November. I get back on the Wednesday in December before that meeting, and I just don't know how I'll be after traveling back from New Zealand. So,
well,
but you should still have the meeting. I'm not saying I may not be there.
Right. Well, it sounds like we're at least agreed on not meeting in November. We will meet in October, and then we can, at the October meeting, probably finalize a date for December.
But you'll have a town hall in
November.
November. Town
Sometime
hall in
in
November, but no regular meeting.
Right.
And you might want to be doing that on a Saturday.
Yes.
So I'll double check with Alex and see what the Saturdays look like.
Okay. Sounds good.
Saturdays in November.
Okay. And as far as discussion of topics for future board meetings, we covered that with the calendar, obviously. So, and we'll follow up. I did. It's okay. We're not.
Hey, Ralph.
Yes.
We are coming up on a period here where there's going to be quite a few communications going out. Amanda did a great job with this last year. So I'm just saying, you know, we're going to communicate tier 1s to tier 2s, application window, project completion reports, blah, 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 blah. Amanda has the distribution lists, and she can probably even draft some of these emails using previous ones that we've done and have you review them. So just make sure that you use Amanda as a resource.
Definitely. Thank you. Will
Yep,
do.
I agree.
Okay. Sounds good. I don't see anything else on the agenda. Does anyone have anything else they want us to bring up or discuss? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
We have to do that?
No, I don't. We're adjourned. We're done at 6:33. Exactly an hour and a half.
Nice.
Wouldn't want to be a minute longer. Thank you all. Good meeting.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, y'all.
All right. See you.
Bye.